CinemAddicts, Patreon members, also you YouTube channel members, Patreon members, you get this early, the weekend that it comes out in the box office. We just finished our review of Knox Goes Away. Bruce gave it 2.5. I love the movie. I give it 4 stars. Bruce, let's just talk about spoilers. Just free. What didn't you like about it, or can you? Here's a big. Do you want to start off with a big twist in this at all, or how do you want to start? Pretty quickly.
If you mean with a big twist, you mean that how he solved, or like he basically framed he made it look like his son was framed for the murder, so that way his son won't get charged with the murder.
Right.
Basically, that's it.
What John Knox does is you see throughout the movie, as I'm sure hopefully you guys have seen this movie, so we're talking about the spoiler stuff. John Knox, you see him in the movie blooding up a shirt. He has the actual murder weapon, and he goes into his son's, I think, domicile or something. And he just starts putting stuff in.
He hides stuff in his house. So basically, he does all this stuff to make the son's story look correct, but also make it look like someone framed him by basically, like, he froze the blood and then he takes the blood and he plants it. And that way, when they test it, they're like, oh, shoot, this blood has been frozen. It wasn't really there at the time. So obviously that was put on there after the fact and all that kind of stuff. So basically, the police's forensic identification of everything is going to prove to them, like, oh, all of the stuff we thought was evidence has been planted by somebody and he's been framed.
Right. And the coup de grace is John Knox visits his son in jail, and he accuses his son of ratting him out. And because John Knox actually spent Bruce, you're like, I don't care about this stuff. But look, John Knox had a stint in jail, and he starts calling out his son behind bars, and he says, "You're the one who ratted me out." The son, played by James Marsden, he's like, "What are you talking about, Dad? I never ratted you out." Da da da. And the reason why John Knox does that is he wanted to create a scene in the jail cell so people can understand there is a rift between father and son, and he's also tricking his son in believing that his dad has a vendetta against him until, like Bruce says, the detectives find out that the evidence is planted. So now his son is in the clear. And unfortunately, when the estranged son tries to reconnect with his father towards the end of the movie, the father is so gone in dementia that he barely recognizes his son. Or does he recognize his son, Bruce? What do you think? Is he playing his son again because he puts his hand on the glass? Because the son puts his hand on the glass and he doesn't. And Michael Keaton is now in jail because he's accused of the murder, right? He frames himself. But the son puts his hand on the glass. And then as the son is leaving with his back turned, Michael Keaton puts his hand in the glass. What do you think? Do you think Michael Keaton was tricking his son so he could close another chapter?
Maybe. I mean, I didn't really care. First of all, I don't see why he would, because at that point he's already convicted of the murder. So he has nothing to gain by pretending to not, know he's there if he's really there. And he really does have a problem that's supposed to cause him to basically lose his memory and everything else. So I just accepted that at kind of face value. I didn't really understand why he would pretend, because he doesn't have to, you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have to extend the illusion of their anger towards each other. And it already played out the whole, after the fact, they all get their little gifts of all his money,
Except the prostitute. She only gets his books.
Yeah. I don't remember.
Okay, so what happens is he has his gun. Okay, so she tries to frame him, right? No,
yeah, because she basically screwed him over, and he's like, well, you could have the money, but you screwed me over, so guess what? You don't get it.
Did you think that she was going to die when he had his gun on her? Do you think he would have? I thought he killed her at the end, and I was surprised to see her at the end. Am I that much of an idiot? Did you see her surviving?
They would have showed it if he killed her. They would have, no, I didn't believe he killed her, but I didn't really care. It didn't really matter. It didn't matter. So that's the problem with this whole movie, is it doesn't really matter. Like, the whole point, like, the point of we talked about this a little bit in our review. The point of the movie is supposed to be like, how is he going to get his kid off? That is the big thing. Will he be able to do it before he loses his mind? That's kind of the driving drama. Like, that's the only thing can be dramatic in this movie, right? Other than them reconnecting, which we don't really care about.
I think that also the drama is he just going to forget? Is he just going to forget everything and just screw things up even more? I think that's not too much of a high stakes
thing.
That's
what I mean. That's what I said. Like, can he get his, can he solve get his kid off of this terrible situation before he loses his mind? Or will he never make it and his kid will be in trouble for it? But there's a couple of weird things about this, right? His kid did do the murder. So first of all, the stakes are, will he get a murderer off for murdering somebody. They had to make sure the murderer was really bad, so we weren't mad about the murder. So that's what I mean about this being a really contrived, like, kind of plot, is the idea like, okay, we got to have a reason for him to reconnect with his son. How is he going to do that? Oh, okay, his son commits a murder and he's the only one that can get him off. Okay, that's contrived. It has to happen right now. Okay, it happens right now. And then we have to make sure that people are going to, like, sympathize with him getting his kid off of murder. Otherwise, there's no one sympathetic in this movie. Okay, let's make sure the guy he murders is like a pedophile Nazi. It's like, okay, that works. So that's what I mean. It's all written to get the result as opposed to being organic characters actually doing character things.
Bruce, when John Knox goes his last hit, when he kills that bad person in the shower and accidentally, because he has dementia, he kills the woman, and he also kills his sort of friend played by Ray McKinnon. He accidentally kills his handler. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
That was weird, right? Because he kills his Ray McKinnon, his colleague, is not innocent because he's a criminal. So when he gets it, well, understandable, but an actual woman, innocent woman, dies. And later in the story, John Knox admits that, yeah, she was only the second innocent person he's killed in his career. Right. So you like that part, that unsentimental, the fact that he's actually killed innocent people too?
That actually was the most interesting part of the movie to me. The idea that here's this hitman, and I would rather have him learn about what he is through his unraveling. And actually he has to start, like, his whole world become untethered, right? Like, he would start not knowing what he was doing or where he was. Now, I don't know how you'd make that into a movie, but it could be really interesting. But it would be also really unpredictable and following a character. Like, I wouldn't have brought his kid into it and all this stuff. But they had to turn it into this kind of murder mystery unsolving thing. And that was very unsatisfying to me. And I think it was just lots of excuses for things to happen, which didn't make sense. I don't know. I think they this is, to me, an example script writing wise. And once again, I'm not a script writer, so Eric could definitely chime in on this. But
yeah, neither am I.
An example of writing / painting yourself into a corner. And like, uh-oh, we got to figure a way to get out of this. They come up with a concept, but then what do you do with it? And they didn't know what to do with it, so they had to make it work.
All right, so that's our spoiler for Knox Goes Away. Again, everything that Bruce said, I'm flipped on because I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this movie. Most importantly, let us know in the spoiler comments below. Tell us what you think of Knox Goes Away. It hit theaters on March 15th. Again, for early access, on-point access for our spoilers, please join our CinemAddicts Patreon. And then for our CinemAddicts YouTube subscribers, members, you'll get these spoilers maybe a week or 2 later after it's released. Unfortunately, I am several weeks behind. I haven't even uploaded a lot of stuff on YouTube, but again, our YouTube channel should have ton of our spoilers maybe a week or 2 later. CinemAddicts Patreon members get early access. Final thoughts, Bruce?
Hundreds of beavers. Go see Hundreds of Beavers.
Go see Hundreds of Beavers. Sorry we didn't do a spoiler on Hundreds of Beavers, but really, it doesn't really need a spoiler.
Spoil it. Guess what? There's a lot of beavers in that movie.
There's a lot of beavers in that movie. Check out our review of Hundreds of Beavers on CinemAddicts episode 233. Thanks again, guys, for being part of our CinemAddicts community.